Welcome to the Talent Empowerment Podcast, where we share the stories of great humans so that you can lift up your organizations, your teams, and your community. I am your host, Tom Finn, and on the show today, we have a very proud Navy veteran, a lover of all topics in HR and the empowerment of women. Her name is Marla Albertie. Marla, we are thrilled to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Tom. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, if you don't know Marla, let me take a second to introduce you to her. She was born and raised in Jacksonville, Florida, a proud Jacksonville Floridian, and she serves as an HR director for a healthcare organization. She is also a PhD candidate. She's the owner and founder of the Truth Speaks Group, LLC, a multimedia coaching company that helps women integrate their lives and deliver resources for working women to create work-life harmony. She's the founder of I.O. for Teens, a new nonprofit aimed to help teenagers understand and apply the principles of I.O. psychology so that they can learn life skills and achieve their dreams. She's an avid cruiser. She loves concerts and comedy shows. I have no idea where you find the time, my friend, between PhDs and all of these jobs you've got going on. But we are so thrilled to have you. Let's start there. What is your time management secret?
I know, Tom. Thank you so much. I get that question all the time, and I have to go back to. So I'm a member of quite a few different industries, right? Training industry, coaching industry. So I attend different conferences, and I'll never forget Sarah Blakely spoke at a conference earlier this year. Sarah Blakely's the founder of Spanx, right? Shout out to her, right? Well, the same question was asked of her, and she said, "You know what? I'm in my lane." And I just, that resonated with me so much because I have so much joy in the things that I do. I have so much joy in coaching in my business, coaching my friends and family. I have so much joy in that. And then studying, understanding, we're going to talk more about I.O. psychology, of course, but studying I.O. psychology and understanding how to apply that to teenagers. So to me, it's about finding the joy in what you want to do. And when you find that joy in what you want to do, you kind of span out from there. Now, I'm human, right? So do I get tired? Of course I do. Do I go to sleep? Yes, I do go to sleep. I do watch TV. I do hang out with my friends and family. I have a very close-knit family, friend unit. Yeah, so I do spend time with them a lot, actually, in the middle of getting a PhD. Believe it or not, there's time spans when you get done your coursework, people. So hint, if you want to get a PhD, there's time spans where you do have little breaks in there because you got to wait on people to look at stuff. So you do have breaks in there to rest your brain a little bit. I'm just saying here. But so yeah, I think that is my reason. I'm in my lane. I'm in my why. I'm in my joy. And that is what allows me the time frame. And then I also know how to say no to things that aren't in those areas and delegate the things that aren't things I don't want to do.
So know and understand your lane, things that bring you joy. Make sure that you are doing things that you love and say no to things that perhaps are outside of that scope. And that's what keeps your head on straight.
Yep, exactly.
It's just that easy.
It is that easy. I'm not saying don't try new things. I'm a fan of trying new things. But again, will it bring you joy? Do you think it'll bring you joy? Try it one time. If it doesn't, shut it off and move on. Right? So I think people get bogged down when they want to try to keep doing something because someone else said, I think you'll be good in this. I think you'll be good in that. Okay, try it. You don't like it. Don't keep trying it. Let it go. keep going on till you find what makes you happy and what can you wake up every morning and not get paid to do. That's how you know you're in your joy lane. That's how you know.
Yeah, I feel the exact same way. What would you do for free if you didn't have to work and try to make that your career? So now that you're thinking about how you support others and you've spent a life really helping other people, talk to me about your decision to go back and get your doctorate degree at this point in your life and why that's meaningful to you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tom. So let me tell you a quick story about that. So I had never heard of I.O. psychology, which stands for industrial organizational psychology. But in my brain, I knew there was something out there beyond HR. So literally, it's a true story. I literally went to Google one day and I typed in all the stuff that I liked. I typed in coaching, training and development, research. I typed in behavior at the workplace, being treated fairly. I literally typed all that in Google. It shows the power of Google. Shout out to Google, right? The power of Google. I typed all that in there, and literally IO psychology came up. And so when this came up, a whole bunch of degrees and graduate programs came up. So I said, oh, what is this IO psychology? So I started doing research behind it. So I knew there was more to it than just HR, because folks get IO psychology and HR confused, right? HR is the implementation of what IO psychologists do. IO psychology is a study of how people behave at work in short layman terms, right? So we study behaviors, period. Now, there's different ways of doing that, obviously. You have quantitative and qualitative. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, right? But we basically study behaviors. So you may say a payroll analyst will pay you, right? Well, we're going to study the payroll trends and why a person may behave a certain way behind while they're getting paid and why they may negotiate that pay. So there's a difference. So I said to myself, aha, I discovered the promised land. I knew there was something else out there. So IO psychology has 25 specialization areas. There's really a 26th one that has other stuff in there, but it's really 25 specialization areas that we all work in. And that's the beautiful part about it. We are all doing IO psychology stuff every day. We just didn't know it's an actual science. And it is approved science by the APA, the American Psychological Association. So it's not something that's just made up. I didn't make it up, right? It's something that has been around for years, and it is a newer psychology. It's not as new as positive psychology. Positive psychology is pretty new, but it has been around for some years, but it's not, but it is newer. And so
I love the way you said that. It's an emerging trend, industrial yes. organizational psychology.
Yes,
there emerging. Are a number of folks coming out with degrees in this space
yes.
From around the country and around the world. And
yes.
You nailed it right on the head. The whole idea is, what's the philosophy behind human behavior in
yep.
the workplace? And
yep.
and can we impact that with tools, programs, resources? Can we impact that through the lens of DEIB? Can we be thoughtful about different groups and employee
yes.
resource groups? How does
yep.
that impact pay? How does that impact leadership? And then, of course, for those CEO friends out there and CFO friends, how does that impact revenue? How does that
yep.
impact retention and expenses and all of those components that really are the core of business? So you're really getting at it.
Exactly.
I love the space. You're not going to get any pushback from me, Marla, at all in this area. You're just going to get me asking lots of questions. Okay, so now we know you're doing this. There's 25 principles. What are some of the most important things that if I was in HR or I was in just a leadership role, what should I know? Give me the Cliff Notes version. Couple of things.
Oh, that's so awesome. So there's tons, right? But if you're in a leadership role, right, I think one of the first things you want to understand is the coaching aspect. Coaching is one of the specializations in IO psychology. And again, people don't realize that. But coaching, let's start with that. Coaching is a non-regulated field, meaning you can go anywhere and be a coach. You can go to BurgerKing.com and become a coach if you want to. It's up to you, right? But and what we mean by that, it's not owned by anyone. So people are out there making millions of dollars by being a coach, right? But I am a fan of becoming a certified coach, because when you become a certified coach, that teaches you the principles of how to coach. Experience is good, which a lot of folks do coach off of experience, but coaching is not telling people what to do. You're listening and guiding. And as a leader, that's something you got to do. You got to listen and you got to guide. You got to listen and you got to guide. And you have to do that with yourself first. So that starts with emotional intelligence, self-awareness, which is also plays key into coaching. And then you got to do that with your teams. Then you got to do that with your peers. And you got to do that with your superiors. So you have to do that with everyone. So I think if you got the basis of coaching, of how to coach and how to lead and guide and help folks get to where they're trying to go without giving them the answer, I think you've made some progress there. That's just one area. Another area is that kind of feeds into that is, of course, understanding it, and it became a buzzword, but understanding DE&I, diversity, equity, and inclusion, right? Understanding that we're all different, we're all dynamic, we're all unique, and you have to come with that mindset of thinking that way. DE&I is also one of the specializations of IO psychology. And how to break that down. You have certain people who are DE&I specialists. And listen, Tom, there's 25 specialization areas. The facts state that most IO psychologists focus on anywhere between 3 and 5 specialization areas. So you're not going to find one IO psychologist that knows all 25. Please, if you do, I want to meet them, please, because it's impossible, right? However, but most of them dabble in a lot of them. You may be a specialization in 3 or 4 or 5, but you dabble in a little bit of them. And if you're going to be a leader, going back to your original question, you're going to be a leader, you have to learn how to think diverse, have diversity of thought and diversity of what's in front of you. And I think that's something organizations are waking up to now and realizing, oh, my table looks the same. Maybe I should change the way the table looks and bring in diversity of thought and how to change that in organizations. So you can, and you'll learn that does help the bottom dollar. Everything is psychological. So there's 2 areas right there.
Yeah, we talk a lot on this show about diversity of thought, culture, language, background, upbringing, various statuses of active and disability, and those with challenges from their past. There's so many different types of people that have had experiences that make them who they are. It just makes for such a rich culture in an organization if you can embrace our differences and understand that this diversity, this equity, this inclusion, this belonging is so important to the future of human relationships. And it's bigger than just a DEI initiative at your company. It's bigger than that. It's much bigger. It's societal in nature. And I think what you're saying is you can be a catalyst with this degree to help bring people together through coaching, which was item number 1. And then ultimately through listening and guiding people in leadership roles to bring in this diverse experience into the work world. So I'm with you. I'm with you. I love this space because it's so rich and deep. But one of the things that you're trying to do is you're trying to get into it with a little bit of a different angle. And you're starting to think about teenagers. Yes. And I know this is really important to you. So talk to me about sort of adolescence and the teenage years and why you're thinking about this space.
Yeah. So going back to that initial Google search I told you about, remember when I put in the Google words, what came up? What came up was college programs, university programs. That's it, graduate programs. Nothing came up about teenage stuff. So it wasn't until obviously that was a few years ago. So obviously this year, I was literally just driving. How you have your best thoughts when you're in the shower and when you're driving or when you're walking. That's when you have your best thoughts, right? So I'm driving and I'm thinking, how will a teenager know to behave in the workplace? How will they even know? Because we can't put people in boxes, right? We can't assume every teenager is going to go to college. We shouldn't assume that, right? So how will they even know if this even, how do they even know this world even exists? So I came home and do what I do best, Google search, do research, and there's nothing out there that I can find that tie the principles of how to behave in the workplace to a teenager. Now, of course, there's programs and stuff like that to, career development, stuff like that, but the actual science of why we behave the way we behave in the workplace to teenagers, there was nothing out there. So it was like a light bulb. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm one of those ones, my friends and family will tell you, Marla is a doer. If I'm saying I'm going to do something, better believe it's going to get done. It might take some time, but it'll get done. And so from that, IO for Teens, Inc. was born. It's a nonprofit, 501c3, brand new certified, been around since August of this year, 2022. Starting a nonprofit takes some time to get the ropes going, but we are fully up and running. And we have 4 objectives. The objective is to help develop a curriculum for 8th through 12th grade. And now let me address this. I've been asked also, why did I not choose ages? Because going back to my DE&I mindset, if I choose ages, right, I can't decipher who's in 8th grade. I can't say, an 8th grader is 12 years old. There may be an 8th grader out there that's 14 years old. I don't want to discriminate. So we say 8th through 12th grade, because there could be someone who's in 12th grade that may be 20 years old. we're not going to judge. That's not what our mindset is. We're going to create the curriculum for 8th through 12th grade. Then next, we're going to create a teacher certification. So teachers can understand the principles, again, of how to teach this in their classrooms. Third, we're going to have a scholarship fund, which for those who want to go to college. And we're going to have a community fund, which is the fourth objective, for those who don't necessarily want to go to college and for those who cannot necessarily afford the programs, because everything that we're going to have, our curriculum, is going to be downloadable online. And we're looking to have the first portion of our curriculum, which is a module, which will have the first section, which is a module, which will have 3 parts. That will be downloadable for you. Introduction, basically, to IO psychology will be should be available by the end of this year, by December 31st of 2022. So with that being said, we want to accomplish those. Those are our 4 objectives, to be able to accomplish that, because teenagers need this information. They need career development. They need coaching. Career development is also one of the aspects of IO psychology. They need coaching. They need to know that they can do it. And they need that self-esteem within them, that confidence to show, I can do this, but not only my parent can do this, but there's a science behind that says I can really do this. And I don't think many people realize that there's actual science behind this. Again, the study of how people behave at work. If teenagers know how to behave at work, the study and understand the study and the science behind it, they will know how to behave at work. And our job is to hopefully create a better world, continue to create a better world of teenagers who grow into adults who are going to be our future, right? Who know how to take these behaviors and go achieve their dreams and do the best that they can in life and in their whole entire world.
What I love about this is that you're starting to think about the next generation and how we support the next generation in the workforce.
Yep.
And, for many people, I think you could argue both sides of this, but for many people, they would say, we failed in a lot of areas in supporting the next generation, and certainly in some of our schools around the country, certainly with some of the academic programs or the cost of university, the inability for certain socioeconomic classes to be able to support themselves through a university experience, thus leading to lower paying jobs in the current environment. And so for me, what I love about this so much is that you're thinking about the next generation of those 8th to 12th graders, which is a really influential phase in their life.
Yes.
And it's not just behavior at work. I mean, this type of psychology can really help them with areas of depression, anxiety, feelings of helplessness, or not feeling included within certain groups in their communities. And so it has so many things or tentacles that can be positive. That's what I love so much about this area and the space that you're working on.
Yes. And I don't want to leak too much, but in our first, that curriculum is going to be coming out here soon. We have a section just for them to brag on themselves and talk about themselves, right? And understand their own value. Because if you don't understand your own value at a young age, how can you go and produce that in the world? So we have to start young. We have to get them at that. I mean, it actually starts younger than that, right? But we know that time frame, that critical time, is that 8th to 12th grade. That is that time frame where they're like, you know what? I'm thinking about life. I'm thinking about what I want to do. I mean, there are already social media influencers out there already, right? So they're already out there doing it. So we got to think about, how are you influencing social media? What are you doing? Are you following trends? Why are you following that trend? What does that trend say about you? How do you feel about yourself? And of course, they're not thinking about that. So that's where we step in to introduce those principles to help them understand why they should think about it.
So let's say I'm a mom or a dad out there, and I've got a beautiful 8th or 12th grade or somewhere in betweener at home, and I'm thinking, wow, I would love to get more information on this. I'd love to figure out how to help my child through this process. I know we're going to talk about this later, but there's a website they can go to check this out and get some information.
Yes. So we are in the process of building out the curriculum, but it's www.io, the letter O, for teens, FORTEENS, .org, O-R-G, ioforteens.org. Very simple. Go out there, check it out. This website's fully developed. We don't have the curriculum out there yet, but we do have a couple of freebies out there just so you can just down, because I love a freebie, right? And I encourage you to sign up for our email list. Please sign up for our email list so you can stay abreast of what's going on. Follow us on all our social media outlets. Those are also listed on the website. We have our Instagram reel going, which is IO for Teens Inc. That's IO for Teens is Instagram, but follow us out there. But if you just want more information and want to stay up to date, I highly suggest subscribing to our email list, and we send out updates of what we're doing, where's the money going, because we are a nonprofit, right? So where's the money going? How are we supporting folks and getting that curriculum up? That's the next big thing, is getting that first round of curriculum up, and then eventually we're going to continue to have more sessions. Next year, we're super excited. We're looking into having some speaker series, some webinars, interviewing some college students who are taking IO psychology classes right now, and what skills are they learning? How are they going to take those transferable skills into the workplace so teenagers can see, oh, they're doing it, I can do it. People need to be able to model, right? So we have some exciting stuff coming up. So please go out there and get on the email list.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think it's fantastic, and I guess it makes me think of this other space called mental health, and how does IO psychology and this work you're doing with teens, how does that blend with mental health resources for teenagers, or my goodness, adults? Does it blur, or are we in different lanes, so to speak?
No, I love that question, Tom. So it integrates, right? Remember I talked about how I love to create, so I don't believe in work-life balance. It's work-life harmony with work-life integration. So mental health, that's how you are mentally, right? What level is that? 1 to 10, right? And so, again, I'm not going to leak too much, but in that first module, we have some things for them to really answer some questions about themselves, the teenagers, to really answer some questions about themselves and to get to thinking about what are they thinking about themselves? How do they see themselves in the future? Why are they hanging around this person or doing this or that? Again, I'm not going to leak too much, right? So this will get them to start thinking differently about different scenarios and different situations that they put themselves in, so they can be proactive instead of reactive, right? Because a lot of times teens, I mean, we all know we were teenagers, right? some things don't change. You think back and like, why did I do that? Well, we want to be able to put some stuff in place, some skill sets in place for them to be like, oh, if I do that, this will happen. Or if I do that, that'll happen. Oh, and we even have a section called Don't Get Caught Up. Don't get caught up. Because if you do that, this will happen, right? So that all feeds into mental health, right? How they think about themselves. And that will help them possibly, we are a fan of therapy. There's nothing wrong with that. We are a fan for counseling. Nothing wrong with that. That help them realize, well, maybe it's okay to go do these things. It's okay to go get therapy. It's okay to get counseling. It's okay to seek help. And it's okay to reach out to others. So that's how they integrate. So it's a great question.
Yeah. So tell me about the day that you realized you wanted to be in HR and you wanted to go down this path of understanding people and dynamics.
Yeah. So great question. I wasn't sure, I'm one of those type of people. I dig into what I want to do first, and then I go look for what it is. Right? I didn't, like I said, I didn't know what I wanted to do had a title called IO psychology, right? I didn't know what I wanted to do was embedded in HR, So I have this thing that I go around and teach and preach all the time called creating your career. And my career is very diverse. I don't have a linear career. My associate's degree is in financial services. My bachelor's degree is in supervision and management. My master's degree is in adult education, the study of how adults learn. And I'm getting a PhD in IO psychology. I have certifications in positive psychology. I have certification in life coaching, goal coaching, leadership coaching, executive coaching. So I'm kind of all over the place. That's because I like to learn. So I like to take all that information and pack it up and be able to teach it to others. So I know that is my foundation. It's being able to teach, train, and educate others to go out and do that very same thing that they want to do. So I wouldn't necessarily say I knew it was the HR path that I wanted to go down. So I didn't know it was the HR path. I didn't know it was IO psychology, and I didn't know it was the HR path. I just knew what I wanted to do, and I applied that, and I just kept moving. And then if it didn't work, I said, okay, I'll try something else. like being a daredevil, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. And that's the way a lot of careers unfold. You go one way or the other. Either very well planned and you wanted to be a doctor, you wanted to be a lawyer, you wanted to be a fashion designer, you wanted to be a school teacher, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or we have, so many of us that sort of just get interested in certain areas and we follow that path and it leads us. But it also helps you identify your lane when you try lots of different things, because you can figure out a little bit the direction on your own and which way to turn your sail, and lean in a little bit, which I think is brilliant. Exactly. You're very confident. You're very put together. Were you always this put together and managing multiple things at the same time? Was little Marla this way?
Little Marla used to teach her baby dolls. I had twin beds, right? So I had baby dolls lined up against the wall. When I would go to school, I would ask my teachers for old roll books that they didn't, the old ones that they didn't want. Now this is back in the day when we actually had roll books. They don't have that anymore, I don't think. So, but this is where they actually go down and check. I would name all the baby dolls. I would put name tags on them. I would take them all outside for recess. In my brain, they had recess. Yes, they were playing, so I knew I wanted to be a teacher. This is why whatever's inside of you, that childlike thing, don't lose it, because I knew I wanted to be a teacher. But then one day I discovered as a young child, maybe 9 or 10, I discovered that teachers didn't make a lot of money. And I said, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I told my mom, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. They don't make a lot of money. She said, okay. She's like, well, if it's meant to be, it'll be. And, she just said that and I left it alone. So then I pursued a career, believe it or not. I pursued a career in drafting because I became very good with a triangle and a T-square. And I loved drafting. So I initially started my associate's degree in CAD, computer-aided drafting. But what I did not like was the computer part. I actually liked having the T-square, the sheet of paper, the pencil, and the triangle to draw.
You're old school. You're old school, Marla. You want that? You want that sheet of paper?
I loved that.
A protractor, if you will.
Yep. That was me. And one day, my teacher walks up to me in college, in my second year of college. He walks up to me and says, "What are you doing?" So I was literally staring in the La La Land because I was in my computer aided drafting class. He comes, he says, "What are you doing?" I said, "Oh, I'm just daydreaming." He said, "You don't want to do this." He said, "Go do what you want to do." And light bulb went off. And I said, I went back to that childhood thing on the inside of me. I said, okay, I want to teach. I want to lead. I want to help people. I want to go back. So that's when I finished out my finance. I went ahead and finished. I had no credits to my financial degree because I was also interested in finance. So I went ahead and finished that out. And that's when I went to my bachelor's degree and did leadership, supervision, and management. Because I knew I wanted to understand that field and then understand the study of how adults learn with my master's degree. So to answer the question, being so put together, I kind of just went different places. It started with my baby dolls. I started with that childlike mindset and then also too, I've also always been entrepreneurial. I have had that mindset for years. As a little girl, back when it was safe, I color pictures of me and one of my girlfriends. Literally at 6 years old, would stand on the corner and hold up pictures and sell them for 5 cents. I would literally go knock door to door and sell my pictures for 5 cents so I could go down the street to the store and get some candy. When I was in 6th grade, this is going to date me, right? But we used to make friendship bracelets out of yarn. I would braid them up and I would sell my friendship bracelets for $1 or $2 for $3. And I just always knew that I would own businesses. I used to tell my mom that all the time. So some things just kind of always, so I encourage people, just go back to what did you like? When I do coaching sessions, I always recommend for folks to make a list. Remove money, obstacles, time. Remove all the obstacles. And just make a list of the things you like to do, what you love to do. And I know teaching, coaching, coloring. I still love to color. There's adult coloring, right? I still love to do all that stuff. Just make a list of all the fun stuff you love to do. And how can you monetize that? How can you make that into a career? How can you grow that and develop it? So that's kind of my journey.
And you're spreading a lot of great ideas and joy for other people, but somebody along your path helped you along the way. Somebody gave you a leg up, somebody gave you a hand, and
Yeah.
who trained and influenced you to take on these fears and these dreams and accomplish what you've accomplished?
Yeah, such a great question. I've had so many coaches and so many mentors. So yes, being a coach, we have coaches, right? And one of my coaches said something that resonated with me, and it still makes me shake. She said, whatever you believe, you're 100% correct. And I paused and I'm like, okay, whatever I believe. So she said, in other words, if you believe the sky is purple, Marla, no one's going to argue with you. Well, they shouldn't, at least. If you believe the sky is orange, no one's going to argue with you. If you believe an elephant's purple, no one's going to argue with you. Well, they shouldn't. Whatever you believe, that is including about yourself, about everyone else, your beliefs, your values, whatever you believe, you are 100% correct. And that has helped guide me throughout my life. I've also had wonderful, and I have to say, I've had awesome career throughout my different jobs. I've had wonderful leaders, wonderful managers, and I do say your leader can make or break a situation. People don't leave organizations. We know this, Tom, right? People don't leave organizations; they leave people. And I've had awesome leaders in my path that have guided me, helped me along the way, and some of the advice I never forget. One of the executives that I knew, she said, once you know 80% of your role, it's time to move on. And I said, very interesting. Very interesting. And she said that because there's no need to learn 100%. Why? There's no need to learn. You just learn the 80% and go ahead and learn something else, because we don't use the full capacity of our brain. They said scientists say we die using, I forgot the percentage, don't want to quote it wrong, but it's a small percentage. I think it's less than 15% of the capacity of our brain. We die. So that means there's 85% of our brain that's untapped, not used, right? So there's this thing called neuroplasticity, right? So why aren't we tapping into this even more? So folks can go do other things. Folks can go be what they want to be and do what they want to do. And I, myself, I'm a firm believer in that. If you want to go climb Mount Kilimanjaro, I'm not going to do that. But if you want to go do that, then what is the path to get you there? What is the ultimate goal, right? Start with end in mind, Stephen Covey. I'm quoting a lot of stuff here. So as you can see, I have mentors who are people I've never met, podcasts, books. Then I have mentors who are people I've met and been leaders. And then I have my family and friends who, because if it wasn't for them, I mean, I've had a YouTube talk show. I've had a women's conference here in Jacksonville, Florida. If it wasn't for my family and friends supporting me, putting on that conference, I couldn't do that on my own, right? So as you can see, I'm spreading it out. I think we have multiple levels of coaches and guides and mentors in our lives. And I'm just grateful for all of them. And they're still there. They're still there.
Yeah, I think the beautiful takeaway here is that you can have authors and public figures be guides to you. The key and the watch out here is you got to choose wisely. Yes. So there is certainly a lot of information, and I would argue misinformation in the world that will draw you down the wrong path.
Yeah.
And I hear people all the time in social media standing up and saying, this is how you should behave at work, or this is how you should lead. And they couldn't be more wrong. So you gotta pick those folks carefully. And you know what they say, your net worth is your network, right? Mm-hmm. And so treating people with respect and love and admiration around you will create a great network. It'll attract people to you, which you've done along your journey. And then ultimately that makes you more successful if you do it right. Yes. And these are core principles that people have been tapping into for generations. Yes. to find not only monetary or financial success, if that's what you're into, but that inner peace, mm-hmm. that inner calm, that self-worth, mm-hmm. which I think is the ultimate success.
Yeah.
outside of sort of monetary components that
Yeah.
that we as Americans tend to point to and say that's success.
Yeah, the monetary thing, right? Is money's a tool, right? When you think about
Mhm.
using a tool, right? You use a tool to fix your car. So money is something you need to fix something. That's what it does. So the more money you have, the more you can use to fix things. That's what it does. But and, there's the debate: does it bring you happiness? Does it? I think it does add to your happiness, right? But I think happiness is internal. Happiness feeds out of joy. So all that's internal. So I can't give you something external to make you feel something internal, right? You have to kind of already feel it in there. It can add to it. It can enhance maybe, but you kind of have to already have it in there. You have to kind of know your value. And I think that comes from a lot of self-reflection, a lot of sitting and talking to yourself out loud, those drives in the car, that shower time, that walking time, that sitting out. I'm a big journaler, that big journal time. It takes a lot of time to sit down and do that with yourself. And our teenagers doing that. Some may be doing it, some may not. But these are, again, principles we're going to teach them and show them that, yes, you have it already in you. And that's what we do with coaching. We believe in our clients. We believe you already have the gold inside of you. We're not tapping into anything that we don't believe that you have. If you're coaching somebody and you don't believe in them, stop coaching them. Right? So we already believe that the untapped talent is already there. So that's how I feel about our teenagers. It's already there. It's already there. We just got to help you figure it out with the right questioning in the right direction, and moving forward. And then that will lead you to the money, right? That will lead you to whatever you want.
Absolutely. I want to know from your heart, what is some of the self-talk that you've had to put on the shelf? Because they can't have all been positive. There's got to be a couple of things that you said to yourself maybe years ago that you had to put on the shelf and say, no, that is not the way I'm going to view myself. I'm going to view myself in a strong, powerful way.
Yeah.
What were some of those things that you were thinking? I feel like we've all had those things as teenagers and even as adults.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So true transparent moment here. So I have marks on my skin, and I love to write. I'm a writer, right? I have 2 books, working on my other one. But I wrote some stuff on Medium, and I actually wrote an article about this on Medium, and I had to accept that. You know what? I've always had marks on my face. It's okay. It's all right, Marla. You have beautiful, beautiful, beautiful brown skin, beautiful brown marks on your face. It doesn't stop you from being who you are. You're a beautiful, awesome person. And again, that's self-talk. Your mind hears that. It's self-fulfilling prophecy, right? So I'm a huge fan of law of attraction. So what you constantly repeat, you're drawing to yourself, right? So I had to remember, what are these marks? What is that? So I had to, like you said, I love that. Put it on the shelf. I had to put that on the shelf. I also had to put on the shelf. Here's a funny story. I had to put on the shelf. I went for, I used to work for JP Morgan Chase. And before JP Morgan Chase, it was Washington Mutual. And before Washington Mutual, it was home site lending. So if you know that story, Google it. If you don't, Google it. It's the story behind that. Okay. Anyway, so I started off at home site lending, mortgage processor. Didn't even know the slightest thing about a mortgage. One of the questions was, do you know how to type fast? And I was honest with it. I said, no, I don't. So I said, well, I guess I didn't get that job. So a couple of days later, I found out I got the job. And when I got in, one of the, and I still talk to her to this day, one of the managers told me, she said, you know what, Marla, the manager didn't want to hire you because you couldn't talk, because you couldn't type fast. But she said to him, what does that have to do with anything? I think she's good for the customers. I think she can process the loans. Kind of, and wind up not bragging on myself, right? But I wound up being one of the best processors they had. I became a team lead, became a supervisor, became an AVP, moved forward on up the ranks, but I was one of the best processors there. And it just goes to show, again, I had to put that not typing fast on the shelf. So I'm still not a speed typer to this day and don't plan on being. It's okay. I'm not a type, but again, something I had to put on the shelf. I had to wake up and realize, oh, okay, this is okay. This is okay. So I love that. I love that metaphor. You said put it on the shelf. That's why I've had to do that. And I think, it sounds like you have it, perfect, right? It's like, oh yeah, it's no, I'm not perfect. I'm a human being just like everybody else. I have my moments. I have my days, but I've always been confident. I've always been the person that said I can bounce back. I don't have a jealous bone in my body because I look at what other people have and say, wow, that's awesome. That's wonderful. If you have on a dress that I like, I'm going to ask you where'd you get it from and say, don't be surprised if I have it on too. I don't want your dress, right? That's where the jealousy and envy comes from. I don't want the dress you have. I want one that's going to fit my body because my body's not going to, it's not going to fit. It's not going to be the same. I might be a little bit more juicier than you are, right? So it's not going to be the same. And you have to accept that. And one thing I love about Kevin Hart, I'll say this, Kevin Hart picks on himself, right? And I think when you're able to do that, it lowers, it brings everything down. So people are like, oh, okay, they're cool. And that's what I do. I know my flaws. I know that. I don't always have to admit them because I don't think you have to admit them all the time, but I know that. I know what my flaws are, right? And so I just want to see people grow and succeed because I know it's possible in my brain. In my brain, it's possible. In my brain, figure out a way. But that's where that entrepreneurial comes from. That mindset comes from. Figure out a way. I'll figure it out. One of the things I say to myself all the time is I look at my life, I look at my schedule, and I say, it'll get done. It'll get done.
It'll get done.
It'll get done.
And you found time in your busy schedule to come on this podcast and share this love and joy with us. Marla, you are an absolute phenom. You're an incredible person. I'm just so grateful for the work that you're doing at IO for Teens, yes. Really pushing the boundaries and principles of psychology to help the next generation. I think it's commendable, and I'm so thrilled to share your story with others. And I know you're going to do and continue to do amazing things for others on your journey. If I wanted to find you and I didn't know how to find you, where would I go about doing that?
Please go to www.ioforteens.org. Fill out our contact form, reach out to me, or you can go to www.truthspeakscoaching.com and it'll lead you to Truth Speaks group. Either or, find me on LinkedIn, Marla J. Albertie. But if you go to one of those three, you can find me. I am not hard to find. Reach out to me. I promise I respond. May not be instantly, but I promise I do respond. And please support us. We need your support out there for to build these programs, build this curriculum, build these community funds. Send these kids off to believe in themselves. So support us. Go out there. Follow us on all the Instagram, all the social media, all the Facebooks, and just reach out to me. I'm here. I'm here.
Well, I appreciate all of the energy you're putting forth and all of the work that you've been doing and the great work that you're going to continue to do. For those of you out there that want to get in contact, we'll put everything in the show notes for you. And we thank you for joining the Talent Empowerment Podcast. I hope this conversation lifted you up so you can lift up your teams, your organizations, and if you want to be like Marla, your community. Let's get back to people and culture together. Right. We'll see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.